Monday, 8 p.m, Chelsea take on Tottenham Hotspur at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It is a game we massively need to win if we are to turn this season around. And obviously, Tottenham being top of the league, it's definitely a game they need to win if they want to keep defying expectations and mount a serious title challenge. Here to help me to discuss the game and Chelsea's form in general is my good friend and channel fan favourite, Josh Aveste. Josh, what's happening, mate?
Good. It's great to be back, mate. What a game this is going to be. I can't remember a game as important like this against Spurs since the Battle of the Bridge.
So the Battle of the Bridge is an interesting one because it's the first fixture that comes to everyone's mind when we talk about this game in recent years, and it is something that we're going to get onto a little bit. But just before we get into all of that, people, if you are new around here, this is the Joey Knight podcast. I am obviously Joey. If you like the content at the end of the video and you're not already, please hit the subscribe button, click the bell so that you get a notification every time I upload a video. And to show your appreciation, if you are not already, please head over to Josh's YouTube channel. The link to his channel is in the description for this video. Make sure you're subscribed to Josh's channel so that you can see all of the content that he is banging out. Josh, when we look back to the start of the season, very mixed expectations for both of these teams, because I think we sat here, as we always do, and spoke about the potential for Tottenham Hotspur this season, the potential for Chelsea this season, and the way it started to unfold is very much contrasting, to say the least, of the expectations we had beforehand, isn't it?
Yeah, massively so. I think I had them in 8th. And I remember talking on the kickoff about where they were going to finish this season. And we had them, like Brian was saying, they were going to finish in the bottom half. So to see where they are now is just completely alien. I had no expectations of them at all. A new manager coming into the league with no experience, a young squad which had some new players that we weren't really sure about. I don't think anyone realistically thought they were going to be top of the league.
I think the only signing that they made that you went, that's a good one, is James Maddison. However, now we wouldn't be saying that's a good one. We'd be going, that's a fucking brilliant signing. Do you know what I mean? But I think maybe something is looked at in the sort of late career at Leicester of James Maddison, and we sort of looked at it and thought, oh, they went down, he wasn't able to do all that much for them, sort of thing, although he was probably their best player, wasn't he?
Yeah, it's really unfair to say that, Leicester went down because James Maddison wasn't doing it. Like, I think he was part of a really bad team. Like, again, I look at players like Tielemans, didn't really fit in there. Like everyone just sort of down tools there. So you knew that Maddison was going to be good. And actually, that's why you kind of think, is that one that we've missed? Like, 26-year-old player, he's just over the age profile that we were looking at, 25 and under, and so it is one that I feel that we missed out.
We got Cole Palmer, mate. Don't you worry about that.
Don't go on that, mate. Fucking hell.
Right, okay, so obviously, expectation-wise, we thought Chelsea were going to be right up there. We didn't think Tottenham were. Do you know what? I think I put Tottenham 8th as well, but I recorded it before Harry Kane had left, and I went, do you know what? If they lose Kane, they could go as low as 10th. They could go bottom half. However, they lost Kane, and it's a little bit like, right, I read a quote, and I think it was Rooney talking, but he basically said, if it was Rooney, that when Ruud van Nistelrooy left Man United, being the goal scorer, someone had to step up, but the convenient thing was not one player stepped up, 3 players stepped up. He stepped up. Ronaldo stepped up. Obviously, other players there around that time that were really fighting for a starting berth in that team. And I think we're seeing something slightly similar now with Tottenham, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, they, I don't know what it is. And I've heard some stuff about Postecoglou, about how he is such an immense man manager. Apparently, Tottenham staff are like running into the dressing room to hear him speak after games and like before games. And it must be that, because quite frankly, if you look at their team on paper, they've got some very, very decent players. Like Son, like you would say, probably a world-class player. Would you say any of the other players in that squad were world-class? I don't think you would. Would you say that?
World-class. I think Maddison sort of comes into it.
Maddison struggles to get in the England team. So I don't know if you could say that he's world-class at the moment.
Better players than Maddison have struggled to play under Southgate for England. So I would say he's borderline, and I would say if we're going on in a one-off individual match right now, but yeah, I can completely agree with the point you're making. Basically, we're saying that it's either Son or it's Son and Maddison, but apart from that, none of them would fall into that world-class bracket.
No, and that's why for me, they're a team that are some of, more of the parts. Do you know what I mean? Like they have pulled together something which is, I don't know, like it just feels so alien, and I don't quite understand how they've done it. And it must be because Postecoglou has got in there and has improved every single one of those players. Because quite frankly, you could say that the quality on paper of our squads, the two teams, Chelsea versus Spurs, on paper is relatively similar. And yet they've had this amazing start, unbeaten, and we've had this incredibly faltering start. And you go, what is the difference there? And yeah, we've got some younger players and we've got a bit more inexperience, and they've got some more sort of like, experienced, ready to go players that have been there, done it. But beyond that, there isn't that much difference. So it must be coaching and man management that is the key thing for me.
I think there's three things for me that go into the mix of why it's been so successful so far at Tottenham. And it's obviously low expectations. I think that's massive. A massively underrated manager and really shrewd transfer business. Like, we look at the players they've signed. Even the fact that they've now, not that, it's a signing from this season, but even used Basuma coming into the fold now. But also, like, I've got to be honest with you. I mean, you're a lot better at this sort of stuff than me. It's been pointed out in the comments, and it is true. Josh is the better footballing brain out of the two of us. But, like, I didn't know who Van der Ven was.
No.
I didn't know Van der Ven. Even like Destiny, Udogie, like he's looking like a really good player. Their business in the transfer market under Postecoglou, if it was Postecoglou sort of giving the shouts, which it looks like, by all purposes it probably was, it's been very shrewd, and they've got players in for not massive fees. Although I say that, I think Van der Ven was about 40 million euros, so it's not a cheap fee. He's partnered perfectly with Romero. They look solid. The goalkeeper, what's his name?
Vicario. Again, signed as a number two, really, if you think about it. Like, I don't think a lot of people would have said Lloris would have been dropped. Look at the quality and experience that he has. He's just fallen off a cliff, hasn't he? Sometimes he doesn't even make the squad. So that just shows you, like, they've signed some very interesting players that have just immediately hit the ground running. Like, you look at us, right? We've signed a number two that could be a number one in Petrovic. We haven't even seen him play, not even in the Carabao Cup. So they have done, you're completely right, they've done some very, very good transfer business.
How many of their players do you reckon get into our team? Because I get that you could go, okay, well, they're top of the league and you're in 11th or whatever. But if you're just going on names on a piece of paper, how many of them do you reckon realistically get in there?
Well, let's go one by one and let's go through the team. So let's start with the goalkeeper, Vicario. I think this is one that you could argue that he is better than Sanchez. I think he's been performing. I think he's been performing very well. He's looks completely solid. He hasn't really made a mistake, and again they've not lost. So how could you say that he shouldn't be in there? So yeah, if you look at their defensive unit, you've got to start going, yeah, there are some good options there. But the goalkeeper is by far the easiest one. Now in defence, I'm struggling. Like, I would pick a lot of the Chelsea players over the Spurs players.
I'd pick every defender for Chelsea over a Spurs one, because the one that you'd say, Van der Ven, and I will openly admit that Van der Ven has been performing to a higher level this season, but if you give me a Romero-Van der Ven partnership, I could probably make 2 or 3 different partnerships for Chelsea that I would say is better on paper, But that's the one there, like, maybe... See, my centre-back pairing would obviously be Thiago Silva and Levi Colwill, if I'm going strongest, yeah? Maybe even Levi Colwill and Badiashile, So, but Van der Ven is one that I think, he has a chance.
I think if we're taking our bias off, though, I think we are being slightly unfair to that defensive partnership, because they've been immense and we've chopped and changed and we've had to make defensive changes, and we've conceded a lot of goals against some very poor teams. And yes, we've been chasing games and there are mitigating circumstances, but still, I think a lot of Spurs fans will be laughing at us right now because we've put our defensive two in there. But, you can understand why. We're diehard Chelsea fans, so you can understand a bit of bias.
Destiny?
Yeah, for
or
me,
Cucurella.
For me, you've got that's one that you've got to really question, because really it's Chilwell versus Udogie for me as the best.
Chilwell.
Yeah, when did we last see him?
Is he the Cucurella understudy?
Yeah.
Is he?
He does still play for Chelsea. I saw an interesting stat that it was in the last 3 years, Chilwell and Reece James have played together as many times as they did in the previous season.
Yeah,
so,
and 30, is it less than 30? Is it 28 times in 3 years or
less
something?
Less than 30 games, yeah. So to say that we haven't had our best two on paper fullbacks playing in the same team together is mental. But
mate, that's a conversation. This is the thing. This is why it's good that I write the little bullet points down and structure the video, because if this was just me and you talking in a pub or whatever, we're then going to go for about an hour going, is that our best fullback partnership? And, you could go into so much detail with that. But it is crazy that we don't get them two on the pitch together. The way I see things going, I think going forward, like by next season, our backline's going to be James, I think it's going to be the Sassy, Badiashile and Levi Colwill as a left back.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a massive change when you think about how many left backs we've got. We've still got 3, so we're going to have to offload at least one of those, to fit all those boys in.
Cucurella plays where he wants, though. He just does what he wants, plays where he wants.
I mean, he's a left back. he's a left back. I mean, we can't keep playing Maatsen at right wing either, for God's sake.
Can't keep not playing Maatsen anywhere, more like.
Yeah, I mean, he's gone.
Yeah.
Sorry to say. But yeah, look, going back to Dogi, I really like him. And I think on current form, he deserves to be in the mixed 11.
If you call Maddison a forward, let's call him a forward.
Yeah.
Clean sweep in midfield, isn't it?
Yes, I think our midfield 3, and we were talking about the midfield 3 videos that we did. I think our midfield 3 now are top 3 in the league.
Main sort of talking point there would be, and it's not a talking point for me, I'm very set on my answer to it, but people might say Basuma over Gallagher.
I think they play in a slightly different role. Like Basuma and Sarr are very clearly pivot players, number 6s, aren't they? And so for me, it's a straight shootout between Caicedo and Enzo there. I think it's disingenuous to put. I think Gallagher is playing in the Maddison role. If you look at the way he's sort of very mobile and all over the pitch.
Don't say that, because then I might have to swap him.
Well, I think in their system, that is the most comparable. And then I think you do have to go Maddison over Gallagher, which is so harsh on Gallagher because he's been very, very good. But Maddison is top 1, 2 in the league in that position.
And then when you go up top, obviously straight away for me, Son over Jackson. Son's been playing more down the centre for Spurs, isn't he? So
yeah, he's more of a striker this year, so I'd definitely play him there.
Son over Jackson. Out wide, you'd definitely go Cole Palmer over Richarlison. Is he the main one that's been starting there for him?
Yeah, like Kulusevski, Richarlison.
Yeah, well, Cole Palmer over either of them. Yeah. And then whoever on the other side, I think you'd have a decision whether you go Mudryk, Sterling. I think you go both Mudryk and Sterling, which surprises me a little bit because their attack's been very potent. But as we know, football is not played on paper. It's played on grass. Ultimately. So probably in an actual match, a lot of people would be disagreeing with us there. Before we get in to our actual teams and what we're going to see this match, what do we want to see from Chelsea? What do we think we'll see from Chelsea? And what do you think are the keys to victory here for Chelsea? Because I'm going to be honest, it is a game that I'm actually very confident in. I am so much more confident going in to a London derby against Spurs than I would be against Sheffield United.
That's insane. Why are you so confident? Because I'm not this time, mate.
Because I just truly do think that styles make fights, and I think that there's absolutely no way that Tottenham come out and play a low block against us. The reason Postecoglou came in when there was potentially better names that they even had or could have got, or more established names. The reason Postecoglou came in is he came with a very distinctive style of play. He came with an attacking philosophy that was going to let the players express themselves and play the Tottenham way, yeah? We hear all this about the Tottenham way. The Tottenham way ultimately doesn't really win you any trophies, but the Tottenham way is a style of football that over the years, in certain sequences of this team, have looked very good. I remember that Harry Redknapp Tottenham team when it had like Van der Vaart, Modric, Bale. That was an unreal team, to be fair. But they wanted him to play the Tottenham way. Being that he's brought in to play the Tottenham way, and playing the Tottenham way so far has got him to the top of the Premier League, I don't see him changing his tactics just because he knows that Chelsea are vulnerable to a low block. Because here's the problem. If he goes low block and it doesn't work for him, and we somehow do take a little bit of confidence from what we learnt against Blackburn, and eventually a bit of luck goes our way and we turn things on and do convert our chances, every single person, media, fan base will be saying to him, what on earth are you doing? Why didn't you do what got you to the top of the league and what you're good at, and not paid all that respect to a team that ultimately we can't deny are 11th in the table? So for that reason, I think he's going to come and play us. And like anything, right, you can have two boxers in there. One's way more skilled than the other one. But if they have a shootout and trade in the middle of the ring, all of a sudden, the skill gap doesn't really go, as elevated as it might have been, because all of a sudden it's a shootout. We had a shootout more or less with Liverpool. We drew it. We had a shootout more or less with Arsenal. We drew it. Now, I do genuinely believe that we're going to get fireworks in this game. I think it's going to be a shootout between us and Tottenham. And for that reason, being that I'm saying it's a 50-50 chance, if something's a 50-50 chance, as if I'm not going to back my team, Chelsea.
It's away from home, and I think they have destroy teams that have gone out and played against them, right? They don't necessarily need to play in a low block to be able to beat us. And I think the momentum that they've had and the positivity around that club, the stadium is going to be absolutely going mad, isn't it? We know that it's going to be a very difficult place to go. They are very, very good there as well. Yes, we've got a very good away record. Yes, we are better against the better teams, but we haven't won against the better teams. We've got 2 draws against Liverpool and Arsenal. You know, arguably we should be winning those games. Arsenal won more than any of them. And you would argue that on paper, Arsenal are better than Spurs. So you think if we carry on the Arsenal performance, then we should be beating Spurs. But you look at how poor we were against Brentford and in some of the other recent games. And I don't feel confident going into this with the style, makes fights, sort of format. I'm just not as buzzing about this one as I probably used to be. And this is one of the first times ever, mate, where I've gone into a Spurs game and I've not been as excited as I usually am.
Are you less confident about beating Spurs than you were about beating Arsenal and Liverpool?
Yes. The reason why I say that is because the momentum that they've got. Like, to say that they've won 8 games and they've got 2.2 goals a game as well. They've barely conceded. They just look really, really good. And it's not like they've played incredibly easy teams. They've had a decent run, but they've still had to play some pretty good teams in the middle of that. So I just don't know, mate. I don't feel as good. And maybe it's this is the time where I've been more realistic. I put my head over my heart in games like this, and maybe that's why. But overall, yeah, I'm not sure.
To be fair, we look at momentum, man. Like Arsenal was sort of high flying there, come off the back of wins against Manchester City and Man United. Also, they came to the bridge the last couple of seasons and beat us. Liverpool, a lot of people forget because obviously it stretches back to the last season, but were unbeaten in 18, 19 games or something when they came to Stamford Bridge, and obviously they were lucky to get away with a draw. Again, it's not me coming out and just saying, just because I'm a Chelsea fan, Chelsea have got the best chance of winning in this match. I understand that we're probably underdogs for once going into this game, but what I do believe is the blueprint that's there to beat Chelsea might not necessarily even work every time, but it's going to work a lot of the time until we get a number 9 in. Obviously, if you want to know who we want for that number 9, make sure you check out our video that has already dropped where we're discussing that subject. But until we get a number 9 in, I think we're going to come up against the same problem. However, I do think in the bigger matches, I don't think that problem is going to be there so much. And do you know what, right? Against Spurs, I'm very confident that this problem isn't going to be here. The matches that I'm worried about is obviously Newcastle away. I'm going to hold my cards up now and say, depending on what we see until now and then, it's going to be a real struggle for us to get a result in that game. Newcastle away, got a lot of respect for Newcastle. They're a team that I massively, massively rate. Man United, because they sat back against Arsenal, they sat back against Man City, and if they did do that against Chelsea, they probably could with Højlund and Rashford maybe nick one on the counter against us. You know what I mean? So that's a match that I'm a little bit not thinking we'll lose, but not as confident as this one. This match, I am genuinely confident that we're going to get a result there.
How are we going to do it then? So, what is your game plan to beat Spurs?
Right. I would say the way we need to do it is win the battle in midfield, and I do genuinely believe that we'll be able to do that. Also, when you look at the bigger teams that come against us, let's say, for example, we look at Spurs' front line, yeah? We look at Maddison, we look at Son, obviously Kulusevski, Richarlison, whoever they've got out wide. They're not as big a threats, but Maddison and Son, very, very big threats. I'll tell you who else are 2 very big threats. Martinelli and Saka, and they did fuck all for the whole match, more or less, you know what I mean? Obviously, Mo Salah give us some problems, but when we looked at that Liverpool front line, again, we nullified them. I do genuinely believe that against the bigger teams, we have an ability with the old head in Thiago Silva, who we all know turns up in these big matches, yeah? Obviously, with Levi Colwill coming through, I believe that we do have the ability to nullify a lot of these sort of attacking players in these big teams' front lines, and I just think that we'll see a quiet game from Son and a quiet game from Maddison. I do truly, truly believe that. I could be wrong. I'm more wrong than I am right this season, but I just think we win the battle in the midfield. We convert. Listen, if we haven't scored after half hour, it's probably quite unlikely. You know what I mean? But if we can get some chances and convert early, I truly do believe you do it. And we do it. And you say about the, what they're like at home, and the result is all that matters. But we sat and watched them against Liverpool. A 9-man Liverpool. And Liverpool still were attacking them at times and holding out well against them. And I believe that Chelsea's defence is just as good, if not better, than Liverpool's. I don't know. I don't know whether I'm reading the room wrong, but I do honestly have a really good feeling about this game. And there's plenty of games that I don't have a good feeling about, you know?
Yeah. I think this is one of those games, mate, where it comes down to the team sheet. You know when we've been looking at some of the team sheets so far, I look at them sometimes and I go, I have a feeling this isn't going to end well. And it's based on, seeing it now before the game as opposed to when we're previewing it. And I think if we don't have pace up front, and maybe drop in a certain number 9, I think we might be in trouble because, as you say, if we don't get to 30 minutes with a goal, I think they then go on to win the game. But if we do get a goal, like say Mudryk does start, and he, goes up against Pedro Porro, which I feel is their biggest weakness. I feel we need to get right up there and aggressive in their back line because while their back line's been good, I think it's gettable, especially Porro on that right-hand side who basically wants to be a winger. Let's be honest, with the way that he operates. Not saying anything against him, not saying he's not been a good player, but he wants to be more attacking. So if we can get Mudryk in and behind him and then have someone actually in the box that can tap in these goals, then I'm confident. But if we're playing the same old way and Jackson is there and he's not there to convert the chances, it's going to be a long night.
Well, that brings me perfectly on to the teams that we would pick. We're both going to give our team. And I think, actually, we might be a little bit on the same page here. So let's start off with your team. What formation are you going with?
So in terms of my team, the way that I'm setting up, I'm going to go for a 4-3-3. I'm going to keep it pretty standard. In goal, we know who's going to be in goal. It's always going to be Sanchez. That's pretty easy. That we're not going to even sign another goalie in January. The Ramsdale rumours are gone, so let's just keep Sanchez in goal. Do you kind of agree with that? That's the way
I would say so. And I actually think Sanchez is underrated at times. Like, he comes under a lot of fire. But I tell you one thing, right? Shot stopping is a level or two above Kepa, 100%, especially from range. You look at some of the saves he makes, right? Especially even the match I was at the other night against Blackburn. He pulled off I'd say a world-class save, to be honest, bottom right-hand corner. And not only that, this is the controversial part, with his feet, he's a lot better than Kepa. You've got to understand a few things, right? Being bad with your feet and being bad with your judgment with the ball at your feet are different things. And sometimes his judgment has been lacking. But I actually think his passing ability is pretty good.
Yeah, and also the coaches, don't know if you noticed this against Brentford, but he just was whacking it. He was just absolutely going for it. So I think they've definitely had a word with him and said, just punt the ball forward sometimes. So that, look, I think Sanchez is an easy one. Then you look at the back four. I'm going to keep this pretty simple, to be fair. I'm going to go with James, Disasi, Thiago and Colwell. The reason why I'm not putting Badiashile in, I think he's very, very good. But I just think they won't rush him back as quickly as that. So if it was my choice, I think I probably would put in Badiashile over maybe Disasi. But other than that, I think it's fairly safe. The one that misses out there is Cucurella. I think that's so harsh. But again, I'm going for more defensive solidity. And I'm also thinking Reece James is going to bomb up and down that right-hand side. So maybe the 3 centre-backs works.
Yeah, I think if Reece is going to bomb on, which I genuinely do think he will, then I think you obviously do sit in with 3. And I don't think Cucurella is the man for that job. Cucurella was a little bit underwhelming. Sort of drop off from the world-class performances and almost Ballon d'Or worthy performances that we've seen from him.
He was in the nominations as well, by the way. He finished 35th in the Ballon d'Or nominations.
385th in the Ballon d'Or. So the only way's up. Let's have your midfield 3. I don't think there'll be any prizes for guessing who's in this 3.
Yeah, Ugo Chukwu is the first one. No, I really do like Ugo Chukwu, and I thought he played very well the other day, but he doesn't get in. Yeah, it's a standard 3. I'm going to go Caicedo, Enzo and Gallagher. I think Caicedo and Enzo will be very much the double pivot, and they'll sit quite deep, and they'll mirror the Sarr Basuma double pivot. And then Gallagher, I think this time round, might end up being more of that free role that we saw against Arsenal, where he was pressing quite high. But yeah, I'm going to go with those 3.
Forward line?
Mate, this was so hard. And do you know what? It all depends on Mudryk and his fitness for me. I've heard contrasting things. Like, obviously, before the Blackburn game, when Chelsea do the announcements about the injuries, it says, continuing to undergo treatment. Yeah. And so you think, he's probably not going to be fit for this game. So if he's not fit, that completely screws me over. But if he is fit, I'm going to go with Palmer through the middle, as we did with Arsenal, Mudryk on the left and Sterling on the right. But I don't think Mudryk is going to be fit. So in that case, I'd probably start Jackson up top and Palmer on the right.
Poch did say in his press conference when he was being asked about the Blackburn game, he said that Reece would start, and then they said to him about Mudryk, and he went, not for Blackburn, but for Spurs.
there you go. But again, I don't even know what that Mudryk injury was. Do you even know what it was?
I'm hopeful that it's not, but it seems like it could be a reoccurring one because obviously he missed 2 games, or was it even 3 games about a month ago or something? So
yeah, but what was it? A hamstring? Like what was it? I don't even know. Because this is the thing, right? Yeah, this is the thing. If it's a muscular injury and he's coming back and it's a hamstring, a guy that uses explosive pace, then I'm getting worried about it. But look, if you're saying that and Pochettino said it in the press conference, then I would just start Mudryk on the left. I'd do Cole Palmer through the middle and Sterling on the right.
Yeah, if he is fit, I think he's probably going to be one of the most vital players for us because I do see Spurs able to be got at in those fullback positions. So let's just quickly, before I move on to mine, the main talking point here is no Nicholas Jackson for you.
I think the pressure could go 2 ways with Jackson, right? I think you could do this. You could play him and try and hope that he plays his way out of the poor form. Or you could drop him and say, look, mate, we need to take you out of the limelight. You're not performing very well. You're not converting the chances. And his chance conversion is really bad. This is the thing. You and I are the same, right? We really like to support these boys. But if he's not slotting in the chances and he's 3 XG down from where he needs to be, and he's got a chance conversion rate of 18%, which is way lower. Son's is 30, by the way. He converts 1 in 3 chances, and Jackson is 1 in 5. So to say that, he needs to improve and he needs to improve quickly. And with Broja being out, I just think the pressure for this game is so high. And if we don't win it, he'll only get more pressure. So I'm almost trying to do this man management game where I'm thinking, if I take him out, I'm saving him really. So I would do that. And also, they were so good against Arsenal, weren't they?
Yeah. We may end up being on the same page here. So I'll give you my lineup. I'm going the 4-3-3 again. I'm going Sanchez in goal, of course. The back 4, for me, again, it's very hard because I don't keep wanting to tinker, chop and change with the starting lineup. But I look at this match as being really, really important. And for that reason, I'm going to go with what I believe is our strongest back 4. Reece, centre-back pairing of Thiago Silva and
Levi Colwill. No, you're not going to put Badiashile in there, are you?
He's in.
No.
He's going straight in to the centre-back pairing. Mate, he was fine. He's been able to play for a while now. Stick him in there, let him have a bit of fun. Badiashile is the absolute
Joey coming in from 5 months out. He's had a surgery on his hamstring and gone, yeah, do you know what? Playing one of the hardest games of the season. Why not?
Character building. And then obviously the main man, Levi Colwill, who I've always championed having that spot at left back. Never had a problem with it. Always backed Pochettino with his decision there, and I'm sort of coming off trumps for me, so I'm glad with that one. Midfield 3, I am going to go.
Wait a second. Well, let's talk about Cucurella. Why? It's harsh.
It is harsh. And again, Cucurella is one of my favourite players for Chelsea. Someone that I've always got behind and sort of, put an arm round. I like Levi Colwill there, I'm very much just happy to have Levi Colwill anywhere in the team. But I do quite like Levi Colwill there. It just somehow, in a strange sort of way, makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, it's like having that second cousin that's quite attractive. You shouldn't do it, but it just makes sense. I don't know.
Levi, the second cousin. Yeah. I love that. Let's move swiftly on to midfield 3s. You're going to keep it the same, are you?
I'm keeping it the same, man. Yeah. I'm keeping it the same. We're going Caicedo, either side, Enzo, and Conor Gallagher. And Conor Gallagher, again, is going to be a player in this match that's going to be massively, massively important for us. Let's go to the number 9. I ain't playing number 9. I'm playing what they call a false 9. New sort of terminology I've come up with. I'm going Cole Palmer there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the rationale for you with Jackson? Is he actually not good enough? Is it that simple?
I'm just starting to feel really deflated on him.
Yeah.
Because he was getting in to the areas to miss the chances, and I was going, yeah. But what you don't realise is this. It's harder to get into that area than it is to convert the chance or to miss the chance. You know what I'm trying to get at here.
Yeah.
The good work he's doing is getting into that area, and law of averages would suggest that you keep getting into that area, eventually some of these chances are going to start going your way. The last few games, he's not even getting into the areas. And there's obviously that part that says, the service isn't right. And I get that. But I do believe that when you look at our best performance of recent, it started with him out on the pitch against Arsenal. You look at our second best performance of recent against Burnley. It started with him not on the pitch. You look at our third best performance of recent against Fulham. It started with him not on the pitch. So I think the main thing here is let's not pretend there's no grey area and there's no middle ground in terms of you being able to go, look, I'm taking him out the lineup for now. That's not me saying he's shit. It's not me saying I'm done with him and he's never going to play for Chelsea again. That's me saying in this match, which is a must-win for us, I'm not going to start with him. And that's it. You know what I mean? So for the minute, for me, I'm going Cole Palmer in the 9.
Love it.
Left wing, I am going to go with Mykhailo Mudryk. See, I'm one of these people, I don't care about injuries, mate. I'll send him on with one leg.
I mean, obviously you don't because you've put 2 injured players in your team. So, Badiashile just coming back and Mudryk there. Yeah, why not?
You wait till I'm naming Kunku on the right. I'm going Mudryk. I think Mudryk could tear these lot new one in this game. I'm being serious. I really, really fancy him up against who I'm guessing could be Ben Davies in this match.
Yeah, the Udogi's 50%. Available, so it seems like it will be. But Ben Davies is injured as well, so it might have to be a completely different player.
I'd fancy my chances against either. Well, I wouldn't fancy my chances against either of them. I'm shit. I'd fancy Mudryk's chances against either of them. And then the other side, it's got to be Raheem Sterling. Say what you want about Raheem Sterling, whether you admire some of the things he does or not. He is a divisive player. He's someone that sometimes in matches like the one I was at against Blackburn, you look and you're thinking, get rid of it quicker, mate. You could have sped the game up there. You slowed it down. But he's also a player that comes up with the numbers and is there in big moments for us a lot of the time. So I think that Raheem Sterling, point to prove in this match, he will definitely start, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a goal or assist. So there's my team. I think it's a strong one. It might be a controversial one without including Jackson, but to wrap this one off, let's have a match prediction from you, Josh.
Mate, I hate this because this is one of the first games this season where I'm like, this could be a loss. I'm
do it.
I can't. Do you know what? I can't do it, Joey. I can't do it. I'm going to say score draw. I'm going to go 1-1 because I can't say a loss. I can't, lads. I can't actually say it.
I will go. Is 5-0 too much? No. I'm going to go 1-0 Chelsea.
We both got low scoring, which is a bit mental when you think about it, because we're both going to be going absolutely crazy in attack. There should be goals in this game. There should be.
Yeah. I don't know. Chelsea's backline's very good, man. We've only conceded about, 2 more goals than Spurs, who are top of the league. You know what I mean? You look at our goals conceded against teams. Just the fact we can't really put the ball in the back of the net, but it's got to happen at some point or another. So it is a match that we will obviously be live on the kickoff. What time are we live on the kickoff?
We're live from 7:30.
Right, 7:30. Me, Josh, Brian, Craig, Mitch, big Spurs fan. Who's the last guest? Do we know? Jacob, the Arsenal fan. Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah, really, really, that's a top cast. That is really, really good cast. So make sure you're tuned into the kickoff, because then not only can you obviously see mine and Josh's reaction the next day after the game when we drop a video, but you will get to watch the pain, the jubilation,
the joy,
and everything in between live on the kickoff. If you're not already, make sure you're subscribed to Josh's channel. It is linked in the description. If you're not already, please make sure you're subscribed to my channel. The work rate I'm putting in for you lot is next level. I'm banging out videos nearly every day now. So if you like hearing me talk shit, it would be lovely for you to subscribe. Do that. Click the bell so you get a notification whenever one of my videos goes live. And please do me a favour. Put your starting 11s in the comments section, because I'll be very, very interested to read them. Put your score predictions in. When the comments come in, I will be trying to get back to as many of you as I possibly can, and I will see you all in the next one.